Good morning, everyone. I'll welcome to the next series of webinar. SCGJ celebrates Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav with a series of 75 webinars on sustainable development, renewable energy, and waste management. The first in the series was launched on 24th September 2021. Many new emissions busting technology are still at the early stage of development, with the business case yet to be proven. Reaching net zero will requiring huge investment to scale up these solutions and bring costs down. Today, we have a very learned speakers who will be sharing his expertise and experience on the pathway to achieving net zero emissions. Before I go to read speakers profile, I would like CEO sir to welcome the speakers. CEO sir.
Thank you very much, Singh Saab. It is such a pleasure to receive today's. In fact, I was seeing this is one of the most interesting topic we are going to have today, and probably the most vibrant topic which we normally discuss, and it would be very, very interesting for us, and all of us would learn a lot from this. I once again welcome the speaker and thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Vivek Kumar Singh is currently a research scientist at Center for Study of Science, Technology and Policy, India. He has earned a doctoral degree with distinction in the sustainable energy system at the University of Coimbra in the framework of MIT Portugal program, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, USA and Portugal. His master's in technology is in energy and environment engineering from VIT University, Vellore, Tamil Nadu. Prior to joining CSTP, he worked as a postdoctoral researcher with the Institute of System Engineering and Computer in Coimbra. He has 15 years experience in industry, academia and research in Asia and Europe. He has also worked with the Energy and Resources Institute, Delhi and UNDP, New Delhi. Dr. Singh is part of the Sustainable Alternative Future for India's team. His work involves the natural and artificial carbon sinks for net zero emissions modeling and analysis of energy demand in industrial cooling under the ICAP project. Thank you. I request Vivek to start his presentation. Over to you, Vivek.
Thank you for your nice introductions, and of course I'm not going to delay and start to. I have to share my PPT. So I think my presentation is visible for all.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm going for the presentation mode.
Yes.
So the carbon sink is the new topic, and someone may be the guest listener and expertise in this field maybe not aware about the carbon sink. Is not a special. The carbon sink, like itself definitions, anything natural or otherwise the artificials like man-made anthropogenic that accumulate chemical stored compound for the infinite time of period, and that remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. That is the carbon sink definitions. In the we can describe the carbon sink like in one line, like that the carbon sink absorbs CO2 from the atmosphere. Anything absorbed from the CO2 from atmosphere just the carbon sink removal of CO2 from the atmospheres, and the ocean, soil, and forest are the world largest carbon sinks. If we look the carbon sink, public awareness of the significance of the CO2 has grown after Kyoto Protocol 1997, and in the Paris Agreement 2015, India commitment to carbon sink about the 2.5 to 3 billion ton of CO2 by 2030. So the carbon sink, the role in climate change mitigation is hard to evaluate like a sectors. We cannot differentiate into the activity sectors like a power, industry, agriculture, mobility like transportation, and forestry. So if we look the actual scenario of the carbon dioxide emissions, methane, nitrogen oxide, in carbon sink is only going to talk about the carbon dioxide, not methane and nitrogen, like another type of emission, only carbon sinks, the carbon containing chemical compound only. So if look the power industry is equal to, if we look by the activity sectors like economic activity sector, there is the several economic activity sectors like power, industry, mobility, building, agriculture, and forestry. We are seeing in the first row, the carbon dioxide emissions, power industry almost equal like 60%, then mobility, transportation is the almost 20%, and of course, forestry and very less agriculture, like only 1% in agriculture. If we'll go for the subset system like emissions in power, electricity account for the 97%, heat like a 3%, industry. If you go the several types of industry like a steels almost having higher 26%, cement 20%, oil, gas, and these are the other emissions in sectors. If you go for the mobility like transportation, road transportation having almost 2/3 like 75% emissions, aviations and maritime like 11 like that. If you look the particular, the building residential account for the 70%, commercial 30%, and we go for the particular agriculture sector is only 1% in total carbon excess, and this 1%, and farming like 96%, and fishing 4%. If you look the forestry having 100%, we differentiate in sub activity sector in forestry. And if you, initially I said two very interesting point, like forestry is one of the world largest carbon sink. So why the carbon forestry having 40% CO2 emissions? Maybe due to the forest fire, lack of rains, deforestations, and this is the maybe regions the forestry having 40%, even they having natural carbon sink potentials. And of course, one of the most carbon sink potential with the forestry, I will discuss later what are the opportunity with forestry. And if you look the particulars, not like is the carbon dioxide, the methane. If we look the agriculture is account for the almost 38%. Methane, if you go by the power, industry and mobility, like 33%. And if you look waste and forestry, like almost near about the 28%. If we go for the nitrous oxide, power, industry, mobility, almost 13%, and agriculture, of course, one of the more near 80% the nitrous emission oxide. The sources from the net zero thing, private company in 2022, and to achieving climate target set out the Paris Agreement 2015 as forestry national determined contributions, which lowering down the emission intensity of the GDP of the 33 to 35% of 2030 and level of 2005. And if you look like NDC is like a non-bonding. This is not like a government like this, maybe volunteer like non-binding national plan highlighting climate change mitigations. Or if you like someone like maybe the emission intensity, that total amount of green gas emissions emitted by per unit of GDP. And of course, world needs to move net zero carbon emission by the 2050, and India having the target of 2017, we have 2 decades more to time to achieve net zero carbon. And the government around the world looking the green economy like reform to upcoming changes in climate change, resources saving, management, circular economy, life cycle assessment in a circular economy, environmental protections, ecosystems and recovery, water conservation, natural disaster preventions. And this is the carbon sink. I'm going to discuss what type of carbon sink is feasible in India, like a natural carbon sink, intensive forest management, artificial carbon sinks, carbon capture storage, carbon capture utilizations. The both is artificials and naturals. I will discuss here in my next couple of slides. And as the title said, like carbon sinks and method and types. So in the several literatures, I found like is the carbon sink is the this is the not like a published literature that I compile a lot of information in my experience, and I found there are the 3 types: terrestrial carbon sinks, oceanic carbon sinks, and geological carbon sinks. Geological carbon sink require the engineered carbon sinks, and if you look the method, so this is the only 2 type of method. First, like natural carbon sink, like a farm, soil, forestry, and ocean. And natural carbon sink is related to the terrestrial, oceans, and there's the linkage in the between the all type of method, like method and several like in same like artificial carbon sinks. There is the mix, and the artificial is feasible for the all type of carbon sink: terrestrials, oceanic, and engineered geologicals. If you look the particular like artificial carbon sink also having method to go for the soil, forestry, biomass, energy capture storage, carbon capture utilizations, and direct air captures, and carbon removals. And the new trending thing I found in literatures, artificial carbon sink by the method buildings. And I will discuss 2 or 3 slides in later in buildings. And a particular farm and soil is the natural carbon sink potentials. And if you look the carbon in my beginning slide, the only 1% agriculture having CO2 emissions, and in the economic sectors. So I will not discuss soil and farm, and that the agricultures and forestry have upwards having 15%. So I will go with the forestry, and there is the new technology like biomass carbon capture storage. I will discuss this one. I will discuss oceanic carbon sinks, both the natural and artificial way, and I will also discuss the carbon capture storage utilization technology, and of course several new technology interest. If you look the natural carbon sink by the terrestrial carbon sink, if you look the terrestrial refer to things related to land or planet Earth, and the photosynthesis, the process is from the biological background. The plant use, like humans need food, the plant also need food to grow up. So the plant use the sunlight, water, and CO2 from the air and soil, and create oxygens and energy in form of sugar and glucose. And the process called photosynthesis. Photosynthesis by the terrestrial plant with grass, tea allow them to serve as carbon sink during only the growing seasons. Why the growing seasons? The photosynthesis occurred due to the leaf of the base the plants, and the process is the different type of photosynthesis occur by naturally. And so if you go by the terrestrial carbon sink, this is the very good diagram, the published by Williamson and et al. So look here, there is 3 type of arrow. The green one, like natural carbon transformations, like brown one, like bathing, erosion, transportations. If you look the natural carbon transformations, bathing, human carbon management, if you go by the black one is the human carbon transformations, anthropogenic extraction from oil and gas, the electricity generation power plant like that, and CO carbon dioxide released from the fossil fuel burning up the cement industrial process, and the CO2 released from the transportations, CO2 released from the naturally background reactions, bathing erosions, and bathing erosions, they can flow down with the reverse transport of the carbon to open the water. That part was going to the reverse like that. If they're having CO2, I discussed like a photosynthesis to take the photosynthesis of the CO2 take and release the plant respirations and the CO2, the volcanic compound. And if you look the like agricultural like emissions, like agricultural waste barrels, like soil having respirations to release CO2, the plant mortality, acidity, soil organic matter, decompositions, like accumulations, and carbon transport into soil through the root extractions. And there is, if you go to the forest having the almost 14% CO2 emission from the scenarios, like India scenarios, like if you look the wildfire emissions, and that is the release the CO2, and that is the overall the diagram to present like a terrestrial carbon sink. And is it, of course, I will look here the forestry, and if you look the what type of India initiative to national mission of the Green India GEAM 2014, the under National Action Climate Change, GEAM aim to protecting, restoring and enhancing India forest cover by 23 to 33% India territory. And according to national forest policy, India, the reporting areas must be, the covering forest should be 33% of the total land. And when we get when we'll get the independence, like 1947, we have almost 40% forest cover, and the depletion due to the industrializations, more usage of agricultural explanations of the populations, and so that the total forest area bring down to 20% in 2000. And so if you look the statewide, the GMs in Green India missions, they having some target, and they didn't come due to maybe the barriers, like something like financial and the coordination with the state and the forest department. They didn't completed the mission like 30% certain target in last 5 years. So they make the new target for the target, the last target financially 2015 to 2021. Now their new target under mission, the 20 million hectares next 5 years. And due to the new COP 26, the net zero emissions, they make the huge target. And there is the carbon stock under various carbon fuel. The carbon stock in the various in forest form of the biomass, soil, dead wood and litters. More carbon stock would be with the forest. This is good for the forest capacity to sink more CO2. And other way, if we increase the like carbon stocks, maybe vice versa, if we'll go into reverse, like more carbon stock, like dead matter is having some methane emissions, like other type of emissions. If you look the like last 2 year carbon stock in forest is having almost 80 million tons growth in last two years in individual. And that is the source of the Indian State Forest Report. And why the carbon forest is starting important, I will discuss it later. And if you look like some data in last 1 decade, like 10 years, and Forest Survey of India having the provision to declare report every 2 years. The Forest Survey report will come, and we'll found that the total area in this is the only the forest cover, not the tree cover. The tree cover is almost like 24% cover. This is the cover only the forest covers. So we found the last 1 decade only 0.66% change in forest cover. So we have to achieve like national policy like 33%. The forest cover is very difficult. What the problems, maybe the financial barrier, land abilities, some others, and maybe the climate response, like the resources of waters, like that. If you look the potential like carbon sink from forestry, why I discussed this one data. So we are lacking in, we have good potential with the forestry, but what we achieved the very less forest cover, almost less than 1% in 1 decade. We are talking about the climate change, the huge investment for the net zero from the dead. We are talking about the artificials and the so many costly technology, and that is the zero cost technology. It's not the cost, something just implement in the ground, and deployment should be actively involved by the government. And if we look the carbon trust, some website, the mature tree can capture in per acre 0.6 ton of CO2. At the acre is like 4,047 square meter, and equivalent by the 0.5 kg to per square meters per years. And if you look the 20 to 40 kg of CO2 absorption per year over the times, like per year, we are going to the maturity of tree, small tree and bigger tree, like having the technical potential with absorbed CO2, like a carbon sinking with the 40 kgs. If you look our national data about the per capita emission of the CO2 of India, 2.1 ton. So if it here the pathway is there, they said to here achieve the naturality like a carbon sink with the, if we plant the one person is going to plant like a 5 is a mature tree, like not like almost 5 to 10 trees to whole life. So we can achieve easily to the net zero, but it's the where the land and the where the motive awareness, like thinking like that. So it's just this slide, the information about the, just we have to plant 5 to 10 plant, and of course, so we will achieve the net zero. And see the discussion about the land uses. If you look like the statistics, government of India, agriculture, farmer welfare, Department of Agriculture, like statistics, Director of Economics in November last years. So there is the 1,000 hectares reporting area. Like there is this is the data from the reports. Like if you look the 1 to 4, the forest, non-agriculture usage, barren land, and permanent, like something in the land is there. And then the 5 to 9, that is the agricultural land. So the 8 to 9, if you look the current fallow and the cultivations land, and the agricultural land is the 5, 6, 7, and so this is the view to someone taking to where the landed opportunity. So we are thinking about the implementing the costly technology, even on immature technology. I will discuss later. So why not going for the intensive forest management, land utilization, some the protocol for the is root level, like state levels, and maybe there's some national levels like that, and even the small scales. So if we talk about the carbon, this is the just I finished the terrestrial carbon sink, and I covered the mostly the forestry. I didn't cover agriculture, soil farms, like due to the less emissions, and what is the important like that. So I cover in terrestrials. Now I move to oceanic carbon sink. We can say the oceanic carbon sink like a carbon pump also. There are 2 types of pump. Like if it's the first, like I will discuss like a biological pump. why like pump like this? The process transfers surface carbon towards the seed bed by the food web. It's stored there the long-term CO2. If you look this, due to sunlight and carbon, atmospheric CO2 dissolve with waters and the dissolve in water with the phytoplankton through the photosynthesis product organic matters. The phytoplankton use the carbonated produce limestone and that organic matter, and sometimes it's going to store in the deep oceanic dead organisms sink in the bottom of the oceans. That system is called like a biological carbon pump via the food web. And if it's another, the physical carbon pump, the physical carbon is refer the result of the oceanic circulations, like a same process, but due to oceanic circulations, water movement enhance the gas exchange rate, dissolve CO2 in water, and this process occur in 100 meters in depth. And the same process like a biological pump, the carbon sink in the deep or cold waters. And the process in the, if you look the polar regions, the more dense water flow towards the deep oceanic and dragging down the dissolved CO2. Actually, the higher latitude water store CO2 usually due to low temperature facilitates CO2 dissolutions. So this the process of the physical carbon pump, and there is some oceanic technology having the artificials, the new technology like based on the microforest phytoplankton from running from the tide, the software control aquatic growth system laden with the sensors and machine learning work by the algorithm written by the data scientist teams. There is the one, the called the microforest. If you look the microforest having the bag, this bag having sufficient amount of nutrients like food that algae and phytoplankton to eat, and they sustain time of period in the new environment, and that of course they having the lab growth, and they having the ability to absorb CO2 and release oxygens. So look like this, that the bags after the growing is look after the when it grow is the weight is going to increase, then it's going towards due to the gravity is going to down of the sea earth, and depth are almost the more than 150 meter depths. And after the sometimes the maturity of the microforest, the bag is the no need the further food to survive this. In the initial phase they need the foods, so bag is captured and grow very rapidly. And that the type of microforest forest is developed by the, if you can visit like a running tides like that company is there, they win a good amount of awards. And the microforest flow keep growing and absorb CO2 infinite time of period. Like if you look like they can carbon emitted into deep microforest burner sediment in the deep oceanic marine life and depth of the 1,000 meters, and they can store more than 1,000 years CO2 in the sedimentation in the oceans, and just they throw away to microforest in oceans, and then they are going to floating, and they having data logger everything to monitor how much CO2 absorb, like everything like that. So this is the type of also the cross linking with the artificial and naturals. And look, the oceanic seeding, adding nutrients in the oceans. We can also call the like iron fertilizations, add silane in the intention to introduce iron is the poor area of the ocean surface, stimulate the phytoplankton productivity and productions, and that the enhance the biological pump like the biological productions accelerate. They are going to more carbon dioxide, the carbon sink from the atmospheres. Some portion set is they having the vice versa, like some scientists involved, they're supporting to this seeding nutrients, the why the due to the oceanic pollutant, they're lacking with the nutrients, like someone they know you are adding the more acidic, like in nature, the oceans, maybe they're going to kill to some other biological ecosystems. But this process, the adding, and there is the huge success in Australia, oceanic. If look the geological carbon sinks, like direct air captures. This is the direct air captures, like the artificial technology, the capturing CO2 from the through direct air, currently very expensive technology. If you look the cost, 1,000 ton of the CO2 in the world, the currently only 19 direct capture plant operating worldwide and capturing very less than 1 million ton of CO2 per year. And they have to small, but they have to operate, but scale up with the eminent, having huge potential to the larger scales. There are two technology to approach for the use for capture, like one liquid base and the solid base. And currently United States is the leading with this technology. And if you look the net zero scenario, look in the data 2002 is very less than data is not visible for 2021, 22, 23. They targeted for the 2030, like almost 84 metric ton of CO2 emissions last of these decades. And that is the sources from the IEA November, international agency. See, this is the technology having good opportunity to having some advantage, locate where the need of CO2 can be stored, major role in fighting the climate change in literatures, and the reality is the very located in non-available land, can capture from the distribution sources, located where the resources are available, and disadvantage like expensive, energy intensity, technological challenge, still technologies will mature in futures. And if you look like a direct capture, the synthetic tree in the University of Columbia, they developed the synthetic tree, they having to remove CO2 by the combining with the minerals. The airflow with the sodiums hydroxide inside the tree, that this the panels like and they having potential to create sodium bicarbonate liquid and pump to sediment to build the ozonic storage, and we can store the millions of years and removing 1 ton approx. If you look the normal tree and the synthetic tree, they're having the 100,000 times the higher CO2 sink or technical potential, the real potentials. Like if you look like the synthetic tree needs to power. They look these pictures. They have installed the windmill to run the synthetic tree, and if we plant this type of tree in the world, like the more than 3.5 millions like tree is very, of course is the very costly. If we can achieve the net zero target for the whole world. And see this is we discuss in here, like we can store the pump and store the ozonic storage. So next slide I discuss here though what type of the injections CO2 we see here the captures, maybe the industry, maybe from some tree like a fixed pipe, like they having three types of the ozonic storage in this diagram. This is having platform, moving shipment, and the fixed pipe. The fixed pipe is going to be below 3 kilometers, and that is the gaseous liquids running the pump. Like I discussed with the physical biological pump, and this is the sticking with the pump, and this is the making the liquid CO2 and injects deeper than 3 kilometer converted bicarbonate is stored in the cathode hydrate, and there is very good potentials for the ozonic storage. And having some problem with also the ozonic storage is a very costly, expensive, and this having increased the acidity and killed the microorganisms. This is the like predictions like this. If you look the, just I finished like a terrestrial carbon sink, oceanic carbon sinks. Now I come with artificial carbon sinks with the biomass energy carbon capture storage. And if you look this diagram, and also the IPCC scenario assume the half of the all craftland in world growing fuel for the biomass energy carbon storage to reach net zero by 2050. And so this having huge potential with the what I discussed, forestry having the alone potential to become the net zero. Just I discussed ocean also having the potential like synthetic tree, like something like a storage having potentials, even the expensive, but the what the technology is there, just I mentioned there. Here is another technology, same I discussed, the alone biomass energy. The problem is, I will discuss what the problem with the biomass. So we look the biomass, the woodland grow for the biomass energy, the crop grow for biomass, agricultural waste, they have to transport to one place, and that having released the CO2 emissions during the transportations, and then this collection process also, and the transportation process have also CO2 two types, and third itself the power biomass power stations where they supply the grid electricity. They having to the some like carbon capture system to capture, maybe is the direct carbon capture technology also we can, but carbon capture is direct capture is a very small technology, and we look for the bigger technology, so carbon capture and storage. So and that is going to stop, and just we are diverting CO2 not in atmosphere, just in the capture systems, and then we can go for the deep oceanic storage. Yeah, made the fuel like a, we can say the hydrogen fuels by the blue like a, what they call the gray or black hydrogens, and it's going to use for mobilities, and there is having some potentials like a, but what is the wrong with the biomass energy carbon capture and storage? The need produce significant huge amount of emissions, technical barrier, and it's the expensive, very expensive technology, but potential is there. Of course, IPCC also mentioned scenario, huge amount of land, and we have to go for the first food security, viable cultivate for the energy cropping, like the some discussions in little, but and also going to, if you will cut the tree and plant for the biomass like for the energy, so we are going to harm to biodiversity and huge amount of water, and so it's going to threaten the planet boundary. So we have to think about the food and waters, so survival first. And if this is the like that, and another things like that, biomass power stations like this talk about the only like individuals in the data that I found in the last May month, like that we have 11 gigawatt biomass powers. If it the only the base of biogas, like see the technical data I put here, this is the where we are lacking, why so is only less than 800 megawatt, only the megawatt biomass have non-bagasse based biomass. So we are thinking about the non-bagasse and the biomass energy is the very, we have to fill the gap over the time. So I mentioned in last slide like technological barriers and so many things, and the huge significant emissions. And so this is the third one, like artificial carbon sink by the building. So if you look the buildings, so we are using concrete, iron, cement, and so much material from the building. And in Norway, they completed in March 2019. There are 18 stories mixed, usually the one building, the timber building. So this type of just a engineered timber they used for scientific process to study, and that they publish in the natural sustainability building as a global carbon sinks. So this study discuss about the several in the fall 2050 scenario, how to become the nature, like how much building going to use for the 30%, 66%, like the 100%, like that. If we are going to change to constructions with the timbers, like something the security maybe regions, like maybe fires, they have to design in the engineered timbers. This big cancer don't catch fire, something like that. And then also the green architectures building also can be served in the carbon sinks. And if you look, if we individual story, we can say like green buildings, like same thing, like we can plant, like we can observe for our next sustainable development goal, like that we have to fix our population for land. So we have to alternate, we have to think about the more plantations. So we know the small tree and plant having to capacity to absorb CO2 emissions, like capture of carbon sink, like so. In this slide we discussed, so we have think maybe there maybe it's going to disturb, like maybe the luxurious looking house, maybe are going to compromise maybe humidity level, something like that. But we have to think about the sustainable way to that. So another is the, if we look the carbon sinks, and that is the carbon capture storage and carbon capture utilizations. That is the like carbon capture from fossil fuel biomass stations, and then they have to transport. There is a two type of artificial carbon things, like carbon capture storage, carbon capture utilizations. Storage and utilizations, like two things, and one, so we can utilize carbons immediate the usage of the some like aviation fuels, like hydrogen fuel, like, and another is the transportation by sea pipeline to the storage to underground for geological formation, offshore, onshore, like that. And I will discuss this in next slide. So where we exist in world, so artificial carbon captures and carbon capture utilizations, and this is the last data is last year's, like in the last bottom, that that colors is showing only 27 system operating in whole world, and they have been to planning to this more than 200 the facility numbers will come, but they still only the less than 13 whole world. And the where the this is the only the carbon capture utilization in the power industry, and we differentiate the two types, power and industry and fuel transportations. If we look the power, only two carbon capture utilization technology running in the world, in the part of the United States, 1 and 2, and rest in the industry part having almost like one Australia, Russia, and there is the some part here the Europe is the also Europe, and we are lacking in India. But we in India in next 2 to 3 years, they and the Vindhyachals, the NTPC they plan, the Dalmia cement they plan for install, but they only the plan, they promises like so what the real scenario status for the carbon capture in the whole world, so very less, and still technology have to mature. And if you look at the carbon catchers storage having the methane reductions, like methane method to reduce carbons, the capture should from point of sources, storage not release it, could be emission of the immediate from 80 to 90% the plant. And this is the negative things, like that carbon CO2 require more energy in case of the one study in Australia and another study in USA. So 20 to 40% more energy. So in the term of more energy, we need implicit the energy penalty. Why energy penalty? We in our house we have to fix energy demand like 2 kilowatt, 4 kilowatt. If we are going to exceed, we have to pay some extra penalty. So industry also going to pay for the energy penalty for the more than almost 40%, almost the 50% energy. And this is the, of course, going to increase the higher price of energy. So this is the, of course, the technology is very costly, and of course the energy penalty. And there is the oil, enhanced oil recovery via the CS carbon storage. So the what of the energy penalty is there is the solution is there, carbon capture storage. So we can use carbon capture storage CO2. Look in this diagram, we are going to inject CO2 in the refineries. So we are going to process CO2 in my miscellaneous zones, and we are going to improve the recovery of 30%, and gases expansion in the forces into well, and so we can oil bank, then we can recover the oil, and we can pump the separated the wells. So in this the Canada example, and so they injected 18 million ton of CO2, and they recovered 130 millions of more oil barrel. So in this case, if we going to extract more 130 million oil barrels, so in case we are leading towards to back CO2 emissions is the very, we are increasing, not decreasing like carbon emissions. So the problem, another problem with the CS leakage from the geological formation over the times, we know. So geological informations, and this is the one the diagram from Global Carbon CS Institute. So they have to get it, and that is the time to period we are targeting the we can store CO2 from the and the like earth down to earth, like more than the 100 years. So the natural rock formations, weather conditions, something like that, they're going to leakage problems, and that leakage problem going to kill, to disturb to ecosystems. So if you look, carbon capture utilization technology fit for the long-term versions, utilization for long versions, and carbon capture storage technology is essential way out the reach mass reduction as soon possible. So in current storage, we are going to we are shifting problem one place to another place like a storage, and the carbon capture utilization the technology the fit for the long-term versions, and that is the carbon capture utilization storage technology adapt globally differently term of maturity, potential, cost, risks, benefit, trade-offs, more than many challenges should be such a higher cost, public experience, longer term uncertainty. This is still the technology, the new, we have to certain like natural, like reagents, climate change. And if you look the another things like how we going to, so the carbon capture storage just is shifting to one problem to another way. So we are stored, but it is utilizations, and that is the from the Lux Research Institute, like they have to very good diagram. They can how where the what type of CO2 utilizations. We look the insert agents, seal gas, building, refrigerant for the ice drying, sufficient extraction from deodorant, plastic like the polymer carbonate, mineral carbonate, chemicals, the methanol, urea, methanes, and that is the we can use this process like hydrogens. We are ammonia like liquid fuel, fertilizers, secondary chemicals. If you go for the biological conservations, algae, like fuels, like the fuels, and another the feeding ingredients like that. If you look for the other things like a fire superstitions, like a fire exhausters, like carbonated beverage, we are like drinking the carbonated water, the Coke and Pepsi, something like beverage in separate. And we can also like a miscellaneous, there are several like just I discussed last, like the oil recovery, like a drying ice pellet for ice blasting, like aerosol print. This is the medial gas rate, like carbonated, and this. So we have to, I will say, we just use CO2 utilization, like carbon capture utilizations, and they're having huge some industry, they have been to, like, if you take for example of carbonated beverage, they are making CO2 by the artificial process. Why they are making artificial process? They have to capture carbon dioxide and then they utilize it, and that's the towards our company they have been mentioned the agreement to the become the net zero, and they will use this capture. So this is the last slide, and so we can say the carbon removal technology such as natural carbon sink, artificial carbon sink are not alternative to cutting emissions. RA is supposed to delay action, but can be an important part of pseudo technology option used to achieve to climate goals. For these reasons, artificial carbon sinks need to demonstrate at a scale sooner rather than later, reduce uncertainty regarding future deployment potential, cost, ensure that the technology can be available support the transition to the net zero emission and beyond. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vivek. I would like to request Dr. Khamija ma'am to discuss something or to say something.
Singh, I think it was a very, Dr. Singh, it was Dr. Vivek Singh. I think it was a very elaborate presentation, and you covered so many things which I didn't know. So thank you very much. When we talk of carbon sinks, we talk most of the terrestrial and the ocean systems, but there was something more. There's only one question I want to ask you. You have shown a building in Norway.
Yes, ma'am.
What is see, we have seen those IVs, those green plantations hanging on buildings, you know, that you green them. We have seen in all over the country, all over the world. But this building, I was not knowing, this Norway building, what is it they use? Iron? What is it?
No. And this is the engineered timber wood. They designed the special type of wood. They are not going to use concrete like a cement, irons, like the cost of the reduce the like is different type of the constructions materials. So they are going to use only the wood.
Engineered wood.
Okay. Yes.
And for CCS technology, I think I know something going on in Iceland and Germany. Are those plants successful? You know, Iceland is also, as it has a different geological structure. We have so much of geothermal energy. So have you any information about the Iceland CCS plant which they had set up? And was it successful, or has it, is there any, because that was long time back they set it up. Even in Germany they have set up.
Ma'am, this is the very small scale technology, like a project like that is not covered by the International Energy Agency. So if you look, I have mentioned in the world map where the CS and CO2 technology is there, that part only the region, the Poland, like something was not from the Germany. And the last 1 year, what they developed is only the papers, not published articles, like something like where we'll get the literature view. So I didn't found, and of course, what you're saying, I will look later.
Because, you know, see, when you put carbon dioxide in the earth, this thing, it does raise, I think it does raise temperatures. You know, it will create some turbulence in the earth also, no?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. So how safe it is from geological point of view, that we have to still find out.
Ma'am, what I'm saying, like we are shifting one problem to different problems. The stories like that. So we are above Earth. We are looking the problem. What type of below the Earth, like 3 kilometers, 4 kilometers? They're thinking the solution, immediate solution. They store in the ground.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and thank you for a very good presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now I request CEO sir to say something.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you so much, Dr. Vivek. In fact, as Dr. Dhamija said, we learned a lot. In fact, we came to know many things for the first time, even though we belong to this sector, but still not many developments. I have one small question. Have you looked at this sector from the point of view of what kind of skills would be required? What additional skills you think should be required, or what kind of a job opportunities it offers? Any work on that or any study on that?
No, I didn't look about the employment opportunity with these sectors, but in some ways, in literatures, like we signed like a COP26 like a net zero, like next 4 decades, like 4 to 5 decades. So they have mentioned like every year more than 5 lakh job in only the net zero scenario. So every company looking for the net zero, and I discussed the forestry, so we can plant like if they having huge opportunity for job skills and skills. If you look like a technology, they're the big. This is not a what's it? The mature. This is the mature power plant, like very complicated, and this been need very less skill to operate this type of the technology. And so of course we have engineered like a skilled person dealing with the different technologies. So I will say that the huge amount of job is very less skill, and the potential is there.
Yeah, no, I'm sure the potential is there, but any specific area you would like to suggest, being a sector skill council and being responsible for development of skills in this sector as well, would you like to suggest or recommend a particular vertical which we should look at, because it is a very, very vast anyway. Every technology can have some contribution to make. But any specific you would like to you can see that yes, this is something which is missing. And
yes, of course, if you buy the what I did in my last 6-7 months in research with the particular the carbon sinks, I found just we can I presented the technology like from the running tide, like they have been microforest. So if we going to just what we are going to cultivate from the rice field, so we are going to seeding, then we are going for expansion in the large area. So if we are going to set up the ozonic like a technology like natural sink like microforest, so there is a scope. The first like a independent development, like a new startup, the build the microforest, then they need to person to skill to monitors, like I pretended they need the algorithm, data science, like technology there, artificial intelligence is there. So the full package with the oceanic microforest.
yeah, yes, thank you so much. This is something which we should definitely study. I was also looking at the artificial trees you were talking about.
Yes, yes.
In the beginning of your presentation.
Yes, it's the very old technology, and of course I'm also surprised. I found this is the picture from the 2003, the very small scale like pilot study from Columbia University, and they having they having sodium hydroxide to capture CO2, and then they converted sodium carbonate, and then we are going to pump through the another way to storage like a yes.
I think that is one area one can definitely look at from new technological aspects as well as from skilling point of view. Thank you very much. I will stop here. PB, you can take it forward, please.
Okay. Now I'll request Sangeeta ji to say something.
Thank you. It was a very good presentation. Thank you for it. Just a small little question which makes me eager. You made me understand what is blue carbon and carbon under pressure and such terms which we had been hearing, made it look small and like understandable. Secondly, what I need to ask is how do we calculate, like for a general public, how do we calculate as to how much of a carbon sink impact are we making if we are planting one tree or doing something small little things or buying a 5-star AC or something? Is there a way of calculation there?
See, in the literatures, we know how much a one AC is going to emit throughout the per day, like for what
electricity saving. Yes,
like that. Emission is also there. How much the where to get electricity from the grid? How much emission to get 1 unit of electricity, like that. So in my own slide, the forestry, like the 4th 5 my slides, I mentioned if you want we have to per capita 2.1 ton CO2 emissions, like per capita CO2 emissions, so almost 200 kg. So we are going to plant 4-5 mature tree, like a small tree having 10 to 40 kg, like a time after maturity of tree. So if we are going to plant in whole life only 10 tree, and the next generation, your sons and your kids is going to plant only 4 or 5, then be sufficient to for the CO2 depletion of in the carbon sink.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That's interesting. So I know when I do plantation, how much of an effect I'm making. Thank you so much. More later. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I would like request any question from participants. Okay, no questions from participants. Thank you, Vivek, for your excellent speech and knowledgeable slides. So people or get very good knowledge on carbon sink. Thank you for your excellent presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Skill Council of Green Jobs and for me providing to explore my research and share some idea for the new area of interest, and very nice to I also expend my 1 hours like fully, and very happy to present my research work. And thank you once again.
PB, I'll just take one more second. Dr. Vivek, we are as Sector Skill Council, we are planning to establish a online academy of experts.
Okay, so
okay,
I can, I have a good experience with the energy environment like that. What I can help, I will do also, and I will touch with the, of course, my ex-colleague PV sir from the TERI, and so if I'm able to work for so sustainable development.
TERI is no problem. Half of your people, they know me. Absolutely no issues. Okay, so what we are trying to, I just wanted to pick up your brain on that online we will try to create an academy where all experts like you would be available with your picture and a small CV and an email ID, so that if any of the students, typically the more those who are interested in learning and who are those who are looking at some typical skill deficiency and something like that, then they can directly write to the academy fellows, and one can think of replying whosoever feels he's connected to that. So that's that kind of a platform I want to develop. I would invite you to be there in that also, because anyway you people are looking at the now futuristic technologies, and not much is known, frankly speaking, in the area. Will that be fine?
Yes, for me they're fine, and of course I'm also happy to explore my expertise for toward the sustainable development. I'm of course and I will share my CV and the expertise. I have the very good experiences also in energy efficiency. Like I am the person of energy modeling.
Which group mein ho aap TERI mein?
So I'm not in TERI. I am in C-STEP.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. Yeah,
I was in TERI with the PV Singh sir.
He always gets his old friends and colleagues to our webinar. I thank him also for.
So yes, of course we are from the TERI family, and I meet the PV sir after 12 years. So this give me opportunity to meet my PV sir after 12 years.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. So thank you so much, and I would appreciate if you can send us a little more details about your work and all that, which would help the public in general.
Yes, of course. Yes, it's also for my pleasure to work for the sustainable areas, like explore my experience to for other people, like that type of knowledge transfers.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thanks for agreeing to that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Vivek, आप अभी कहाँ हैं? बेंगलोर में हैं कि?
No, I am in Noida office. Now I'm in C-STEP Noida office.
Why not you visit one day my office, and आप हमारे CEO sir से, नबीजा मैडम से भी आप?
Yes, I will definitely. I will drop a mail. Of course, I will meet in next week. I will promise I will come to next week. I have to several deadline to finish, and next week I will, after 14, I will be able to meet you, sir.
ओके, और फिर हम लोग लंच भी कहीं करते हैं यहाँ पे।
ओके
और
सर,
साथ, हाँ,
ओके सर, थैंक यू सर।
मैं सर से अपॉइंटमेंट भी ले लूंगा।
आप 15 के बाद का अपॉइंटमेंट ले लीजिए सर।
हाँ हाँ, ठीक है, ठीक है, ठीक है।
I will connect with WhatsApp and email, sir. Also, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vivek, and thank you all the participants for your valuable time. Thanks, Vivek.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, everyone.